Now, as the Blues get ready for the second half of the season after the All-Star break, we are now joined by the TV voice of the Blues, John Kelly. John, thanks for coming in studio today.
My pleasure, Jacob. How are you doing?
Good. So as we move into the second half and really look at that first half of the season, two head coaches going into this break here, what have you seen from the Blues?
Well, I think at the start of the year, Jacob, General Manager Doug Armstrong, and I think the players, the coaches, felt that this team could contend and hopefully make it into the playoffs. And, they had to make a coaching change, as we know, right around Thanksgiving. And they had a real good spark for about 6 weeks under Jim Montgomery. But lately, they've fallen off the pace a bit. And now they're 8 points out, and Vancouver has a game in hand. So, with 25, 26 games to go, honestly, it's going to be a challenge to make the playoffs. But I think the biggest thing since Monty took over is that he's preached consistency. And unfortunately, the Blues have not found the consistency that he would like. I mean, they haven't won more than 2 games in a row all year. So I think that's the biggest thing for this team, to play more consistent hockey and hopefully get on a big run here in the last 6 weeks of the season.
When you look at how they ended right before the break here, they had those 2 games against the 2 reigning Stanley Cup Finals teams. They played really well lost both those games, but then go out with a win over the Blackhawks. Can some of that momentum maybe carry into the second half? I know it's Winnipeg, it's hard off the jump, but they played well kind of to end into the break.
Yeah, they really did. And they only got 1 point out of those first 2 games. And as you said, they beat Chicago in that 10-round shootout. Can it carry over? I think the fact that it's a 2-week break, Jacob, any momentum you might have had or not had, it really goes out the window. The Blues are going to start practice on Tuesday, getting ready for the game Saturday. So they're going to have 4 good days of practice. So I don't think they're going to have any momentum built up from that Chicago game. But they will have a lot more practice time. And, the one thing about Montgomery when he took over, I said he took over in late November. They had a wicked schedule late November, all December. They played so many road games. They rarely practiced. So now, in the next month or so, they don't have as many road games, and they're going to get more practice time, and hopefully that leads to better results.
Do you feel as we enter March and really into February before the break even, that the team has started to really come into their own under Monty and really feel comfortable under his system and start to get maybe what he's preaching?
Yeah, I think that, it's hard for a coach to come into the season in any sport and make drastic changes in terms of systems and X's and O's and things like that. I think that the Blues have played more aggressive under Jim Montgomery, and certain players have played better under Montgomery, especially a guy like Jordan Kyrou has really played consistent hockey this year. Dylan Holloway, a player that, of course, was signed in the offseason, has had a really good season. So those are the positives. And obviously the Blues want to get more guys on board like that, players like Robert Thomas and Pavel Buchnevich, because a team can only go as far as their top players. And unfortunately, all of the Blues' top players have not had their very best seasons, and hopefully that can change here in the last, like I said, 26 games.
For you calling these games this year, has Dylan Holloway been a pleasant surprise, 3rd in points and 2nd in goals?
Yeah, to answer your question, yes. When they made the move, and it was a shocking move, those double offer sheets, I called the announcer for the Edmonton Oilers to get the goods on Broberg and Holloway, and he said, Holloway's a really fast player, probably a 3rd liner, maybe 2nd liner. But I think he was wrong, and he's a good friend of mine, and he's a highly respected announcer. But I think Holloway is better than I thought he would be. He's fast, he's tenacious, he's a smart player, he's fearless, and he's got a really good shot. I don't see why Dylan Holloway can't be and won't be a top 6 forward for his entire career. And I think that the ceiling is really high for him. There's no question he could be a 30, 40 goal scorer. He could hit 30 goals this year. It's going to be tough. But I think that the sky's the limit for this young guy.
It's a little bit of an uphill battle as you look at the playoff picture for the Blues coming in after the break. They're 8 points out of a wild card spot as we speak. What do they need to do out of the break to even give them a chance come, April?
Obviously win a lot of games, and by doing that, you got to be more consistent. I talked about consistency earlier, Jacob. The Blues have been inconsistent from game to game, but not only that, from period to period. Lately, we've seen the Blues come out of the gate and not have great first periods, and then they come on and play better. They've got to play better for 60 minutes. I think the other issue for the team, if you look at the numbers, the special teams have really hurt the Blues this year. The penalty killing has struggled all year long. The power play has been inconsistent, but it's not been good enough. And, you know, in hockey, if you have good goaltending and good special teams, you're going to win a lot of games. And the Blues have good goaltending for the most part. It hasn't been quite as good as a year ago, but the special teams have not done the job. And that can win you and lose you a lot of games.
You mentioned it earlier, Winnipeg is having a great year. They're the best team in the league, and they have one of the best goalies in the league. As you look at this matchup on Saturday, what do you see between this matchup of the Blues and the Winnipeg Jets?
Well, you mentioned the Jets and the season they're having. They have 81 points. They have 9 points more than the second best team in the NHL. And you think about that, we're not even at the three-quarter pole, and they have a 9-point lead over the second best team. That's how dominant a season they have had. You know, to me, they have it all right now. They have a really good goaltender, probably the best goalie in the world in Connor Hellebuck. Josh Morrissey leads a really good defense. And up front, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Ehlers, they've got scoring. They definitely are a top Stanley Cup contender. The Blues are 1-1 this year against the Jets. One of their best games of the year was in Winnipeg. The Blues won. That wasn't long after Monty took over, so hopefully they can carry over from that game. But make no mistake, the Jets are a really good team.
All right, John Kelly, thanks for joining us, and looking forward to that game on Saturday.
All right, thanks for having me, Jacob.